The Education System Transformation Program, the work being done. And Program Director Jean Hastings takes the chair to chart us through the course.
At the heart and the center of it all is improved performance of the system for the 21st century learner and beyond. It's at the heart of it. How are we going to address it? We're going to address it by improving the teaching and learning experience and environment. To improve the teaching and learning experience and environment, we translate it into giving a very relevant curriculum responsive to the needs of today. That is the National Standards Curriculum.
For this new curriculum, what we have done is to ensure that we have made some changes in terms of the approach to learning. So for students to be more actively involved, we have promoted using problem solving. We're talking about trying to solve real problems. One of the perspective or dimension of problem solving, for example, is for them to integrate different forms of knowledge to help them to make meaning, make sense of a situation, and then for them to be able to choose an approach to deal with that situation.
Our method of teaching now, our lesson plan method, is called the 5E lesson plan model. We are to commence a lesson, we engage the children. In engaging them, you pique their interest, so that they want to learn, they want to be in this classroom. So having engaged them, then you move on now to exploring, having them explore what you're going to be teaching them. After the exploration, you have them explain. And the teacher's there as a facilitator when they're explaining to reinforce, help them, if whatever they're saying is not as it ought to be, then the teacher is there to reinforce. So having engaged, explore, having them explain, then you elaborate. The teacher's role now is to elaborate on what they have said. In terms of for clarification and reinforcement, you elaborate. So you engage, you explore, you have them explain, you elaborate, and then you evaluate. Those are the 5 approaches now in terms of lesson delivery in our Jamaican classrooms.
With this change to teaching and learning, there would now be changes to how teaching and learning would be assessed, thus a revision of the National Assessment Program.
Initially, with the revised primary curriculum, we had a grade 3 diagnostic test. We had the grade 4 literacy and numeracy. We had the grade 6 GSAT, and we had the GNAT. We also had the grade 1 individual learning profile at grade 1. The grade 1 individual learning profile remains, because that's just getting a profile of the students. The grade 3 diagnostic test will now be done at grade 2, where it will be the grade 2 diagnostic test. The change came about, 1, because of the new curriculum, as well as it was felt that we needed a longer period of time, because grade 3 to grade 4 for remediation is not enough time. And based on the proficiency pathway which the students at the primary level would be on, we needed a longer time before the grade 4 years to do any form of response to intervention. That's the reason we move it to grade 2. So at grade 2, we will have a grade 2 diagnostic test. At grade 4, we'll have a grade 4 literacy and numeracy test. The performance task component of the PEP will be done at grade 5 and 6. However, at grade 6, we will also have the final set of the PEP exams.
PEP, the Primary Exit Profile, providing a more comprehensive profile on each primary school student for placement in secondary schools. This transformation in teaching and learning readily turns your focus to the National Education Inspectorate. The NEI has in place a systematic inspection process and, to its credit, has inspected all primary and secondary schools, thus establishing a baseline. It has now started its second cycle of inspections. You would be urged to ask, what's the checklist of the NEI?
There is a checklist, but it's not an ordinary checklist. It's a framework. It's developed around all the standards that are in the system. So the curriculum standards, teaching standards, standards of leadership, standards of health and safety and security, standards of students' behaviors and awarenesses and so on. Progress, how are the children progressing through the education system? And so we create a framework. We have a rubric, but more importantly, we administer the framework through experienced educators, people who have been in the system and who can exercise good professional judgment.
Yes, the other question on your lips, you can't ask it fast enough. What really sets the schools apart?
Leadership makes a difference, because when the leader is focused on the bottom line, and that is teaching and learning, and the support of that, they innovate, they are creative, they get their teachers on board to share the vision that they have for success of the students, and it permeates everything that they do.
Let's talk more about leadership in the final segment of part 1 of this 2-part series on the transformation in education when we return.